5-minute warning here. I think we'll be able to start in about 5 minutes. Thank you. I'm sorry again for the delay. Well, good morning. The Senate Special Committee on Congressional Redistricting will come to order. The clerk will please call the roll.
Senator King.
Here.
Senator Creighton.
Here.
Senator Alvarado. Senator Hinojosa.
Present.
Senator Hughes.
Here.
Senator Miles.
Here.
Senator Parker. Senator Paxton.
Present.
Senator Sparks.
There being 7 members present, a quorum has been established. The purpose of today's hearing is to lay out a bill and to hear public testimony on that bill. If you intend to provide verbal testimony or would like to register a position on the bill, please register at one of the kiosks located behind the committee hearing room. We're going to, because of the number of witnesses today, we're going to limit testimony to 2 minutes, but you're likely to be asked questions by some of the senators, and if you are, that time certainly doesn't count against you, and the senators can ask as many questions for as long a period as they wish. I'm going to close registration at, we'll do it an hour after the committee hearing begins, so let's call it, we'll close registration at the kiosks at 10:15 this morning. Members, just so you'll know, registration was opened at 8 a.m. Today. To ensure that everyone will be heard in a timely manner, we will ask 4 witnesses to be seated at the witness table at a time. So I'll call your names, and I may let you know ahead of time that you'll be in the next panel if I can pull that off. Any member of the public may also submit written comments and attachments to the committee via the public input portal. If necessary, we will take a 5 to 10 minute break every few hours so that members can stretch their legs. And also just want to mention, if you see a member get up and walk out, please know that it's not an indication that they aren't interested in what's going on. We have to take a quick break on occasion too. And if they have to go back to the back room and grab a cup of coffee or for the restroom, the audio plays back there as well, so as well as the video, so they'll know everything that's going on when they step out. Members, I know that there's a number of you may have some comments today. I'm certainly available to answer any questions when we lay out the bill. I also will reserve some time. I'm hoping we can take the bill up for vote today, and if we can, I'll certainly reserve time at the end for you to make any closing remarks that you wish to make at that time. If we have no committee amendments on file for today's hearing, we also have some overflow room, and if we end up needing that, I'll announce where those are at. And with that, I'm going to pass the gavel to Vice Chair Creighton. And again, I want to thank everybody for being here today.
Okay, thank you, members. At this time, the chair lays out Senate Bill 4 and recognizes its author, Chairman King.
Thank you. And members, the layout's a little bit longer on this than we normally do in committees, but this is such an important issue. I'd like to, with your patience and grace, go into a little bit more detail. And I want to thank all the members of the committee who are in attendance today, and we're all taking time away from home and family and business and everything for the special session. The purpose of this layout is to provide an overview of the bill for the committee and for the public. And just a little context of the special session, on July 9th, Governor Abbott called this special session, which began on July 21st, 2025. The duration of the special session is 30 days. All the topics of the special session are set by the governor, not the legislature. One of the topics for this special session is congressional redistricting, and of course that's the subject matter that we have before us today. House Bill 4, HB 4, was introduced in the House on Wednesday, July 30th, and was passed out of the House Committee on August 2nd, 2025. Note that today we are considering the Senate bill, which is a companion, which was filed by me on Monday, August 4th. So the House bill and the Senate bill are identical at this stage. It is the chairman's prerogative to set a schedule for review of the bill under our Senate rules. My goal is to complete redistricting within this 30-day window offered by the current special session. Now, there's been a lot of activity on the House side, but we today are focused at our job at hand for the Senate, which is to address the bill before us. Now, I want to take a moment to discuss the public input we've had on redistricting. I want to take us back to 2021 because all of the data that we will be using and are using for this redistricting process is from the 2020 census data. So since 2021, the Senate has held 21 regional or public hearings, and the House itself has had many additional hearings. I think they actually had some in 2019, I think 14 regional hearings in 2019. Now, these hearings have given the legislature an opportunity to hear the public's concerns about the 2020 census data and about redistricting in general. This plan, as I said, is based on the 2020 census data. 4 Senate regional public hearings and 1 additional public hearing specifically for invited testimony have been held during this special session. And let me comment a minute on those regional hearings. We divided them up regionally. However, anyone was able to testify on any portion of the state at each hearing if they desired. But we had the South Texas and Central Texas hearing on July 25th, 2025. We had the North Texas hearing on July 26th, 2025. We had the East Texas hearing on July 28th, and the West Texas, which included the El Paso area, on July 29th. Over the course of these 4 public hearings, regional hearings, we heard from 205 individual witnesses. We had 205 people individually testify before this committee. And as we were utilizing virtual testimony and live streaming, we had approximately 3,852 clicks to the Senate live stream that were recorded. In other words, at over 3,850 times, people entered in to watch the hearings online. Testimony included invited witnesses, the names of which had been given to us by the Senate Democrat Caucus chair, and sitting members of Congress. Congressman Mark Vesey testified, as well as Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher, Sylvia Garcia, and Congressman Al Green. We provided the opportunity for the public to provide testimony by remote means, as I mentioned, and sessions were held on Saturday and after hours. We were aware that some people might be prevented from participating due to a long drive, the long distance obviously from Austin if we had the hearings here, or by work or family obligations. And so we did this in this virtual fashion so that as many people as possible could offer their input. And we had just that. We had people testify from all over the state. It was interesting how many people said, thank you for doing this. I'm down in the RGV today, or I'm some other place and I couldn't be there, or there's a House hearing that I wanted to attend and couldn't get to, or I went to the House hearing and wasn't able to testify, so I appreciate you all doing this today so I could do this without driving again to Austin. In addition, on August the 6th, the Senate held, this committee held a hearing for invited testimony, and we invited the following interested parties. Again, these were names that were given to us at our request by the Democrat caucus chair, and many of these testified during our teleconference hearings. Nina Perales with MALDEF, Gary Bledsoe with the Texas NAACP, Ellen Katz with the University of Michigan Law School, Michael Lee with the Brennan Center for Justice, Niyati Shah with the Asian Americans Advancing Justice, Leah Aden with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, Luis Figueroa with Every Texan, Ramon Palomares with LULAC, Tenias Chavez with La Union del Pueblo Entero, and also we invited the entire Democrat congressional delegation. Again, this was all for the August 6th invited testimony hearing. This hearing was held specifically because there were comments at the regional hearings earlier that a map was not available on which to testify, and so we wanted to give these interested parties and stakeholders a specific opportunity to come and testify before the committee on SB 4, on the bill before us today. We held that public hearing yesterday with, as I said, over a dozen invited witnesses and all of the Democratic congressional delegation, but they all chose to either decline the invitation or not respond at all. So today is we're here for the public to testify, which is another reason I wanted to bifurcate, to separate these into two hearings, invited testimony and public testimony, is because I didn't want you to have to wait 2 or 3 hours until invited testimony would be over, as we had seen happen in the House, which wasn't their fault, but I just didn't want you to have to wait a long time. During this special session, we also reopened, actually I think before the session began, the public comment portal, through which any member of the public may provide comments and present documents. As of noon yesterday, we have received 3,668 public comments through the public portal. All of these public comments are being and will be distributed to the committee members, and we are in the process of making these available to all senators and the public on the Senate's website as soon as possible. We've been processing about 400 of these a day, and my staff's not crazy happy about that, but it just takes a while to go through them. We have to redact personal information. We don't want to make it, if you've filed something with the portal, we don't want to make your personal email or phone number or home address or anything like that available to the public. So we're having to go through each one of those that comes in. We're doing about 400 a day, and we're trying to redact, black marker out your personal information. But those are being made available to the committee and will soon be available to all the public and all the Senate members. Now, that brings us to where we are today in this laying out this bill. And I want to take just a moment, if I may, to discuss redistricting history and some principles and legal standards. I believe that I'm correct in saying that redistricting has been addressed during special sessions of the Texas legislature as far back as at least 1871, when they did school district redistricting, and then they did congressional redistricting in a special session in 1882. This also includes special sessions in the past 6 redistricting cycles. They did redistricting in special sessions in 1971, 1981, 1991, 1997. That was actually for the education again, Board of Education. We did special session redistricting in 2003, 2011, 2013, and 2021. The 2021 was delayed because the census data did not come out until the Senate had adjourned in its regular 2021 session. So we had to come back and do redistricting in the special session. My point is the legislature can choose and has chosen many times to redistrict during a special session. And we can frankly, lawfully, and by precedent, redistrict at any time the legislature so desires, including mid-decade, as we are today. And the states have very broad authority. All states have very broad authority. This is recognized by the courts under the U.S. Constitution and its election clause to choose when to do redistricting. Now, the U.S. Constitution requires that congressional districts be drawn with population as close to equal as possible to achieve the one person, one vote standard. We have some flexibility when we're doing House and Senate maps, but we do not with the congressional districts. This standard is from this one person, one vote standard, is from the Supreme Court's 1964 decisions in Westbury v. Sanders and Reynolds v. Sims. It's also grounded in the 14th Amendment and Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution. So, for our purposes of this map that we're considering today, the ideal district size is 766,987 in population. SB 4, I will tell you, meets the one person, one vote standard. Now, please also note for any of the senators on the committee or the other senators in the body, please also note that any amendments that would be presented in this committee or on the floor must meet this same population criteria as well as all other legal criteria. Every proposed amendment here or on the floor, the proponent must be able to demonstrate that their proposed amendment meets these legal requirements. So please be prepared to discuss that if you have I think it'll be floor amendment because we don't have any amendments filed for the hearing today. Now, a little bit about the legal basis for district design. The area of redistricting law is robust, to say the least. I've consulted with our legal counsel, and I am confident that SB 4 complies with the law in all regard. The House came to the same conclusion with HB 4, our companion. Therefore, starting with the position that our map is legal in all regard, I've tried to focus on 2 major issues. My first objective in adopting the House map and presenting this map today, my first objective is to create a plan that elects more Republicans to the U.S. Congress. In contrast to the complications involved with race-based redistricting, political performance, in this case, my objective of electing more Republicans to the U.S. Congress, is a permissible basis for drawing electoral districts. This was recognized by the U.S. Supreme Court in Rucho v. Common Cause and in, I guess it's pronounced Vieth v. Jubileer. Those were 2019 and 2024 cases, respectively. My second objective, and the first was to elect more Republicans to the U.S. Congress. My second objective, and I'll admit I wasn't initially intending to focus on this, but we, during the public testimony, heard repeated comments from citizens that districts weren't compact, meaning that there were so many districts that were irregularly shaped, oddly shaped. Now, districts that are drawn to be compact tend to aid in representation because they avoid the risk of distant communities being united when they may not have everything in common. And I'll mention my Senate district. I have urban Fort Worth and Arlington, and then I also have rural counties, one with only 4,000. And the districts are different and the needs are different. So you want to try to make districts as compact as possible. It also allows it a lot more ease for the, in this case, the congressional members to travel across those districts. Now, I will say this is a particular difficulty in Texas because we are so large. We're not New Jersey. We're a state of 254 counties and 31 million people. And particularly when you get into West Texas, so many of those counties have only 5 or 10,000 in population. So when you're trying to put a district together that has 766,987 people in it, you tend to have to reach in often and grab population from an urban area, but then add a lot of rural counties to it, because that's simply the only way you can meet the one person, one vote requirements that we have in this very large county. It's not such an issue in the urban areas or in the areas closer to the urban areas because we can make those more compact. And what we heard from a lot of citizens is that there are a number of districts that could be more compact, but were not. And so that became a second objective in looking at this SB 4. Now, I will tell you that SB 4 accomplishes both objectives. Even a quick look at the plan, and we've put maps up, as you can see. We've got maps on easels at the back, both maps of the district, the current districts, the proposed districts under SB 4, and then the regional areas. And there's also copies of maps available for the public in the back of the room. But this map accomplishes both the objectives. Even a quick look at the plan shows it is more compact in many ways, and we'll look at a couple of those in a minute. And it has better political performance, from my perspective, than the enacted plan, the current district map. Let's talk about the impact a little bit of this proposed map. Let's go through some of the high-level changes. SB 4 redraws 37 of 38 congressional districts. But let me say, most districts are changed in only very minor, even non-substantive ways. The most significant changes, the most significant changes affect 5 districts, and those districts will now lean Republican in political performance. That would be CD 9 in Houston, CD 28 in the RGV, the Rio Grande Valley, CD 32 in Dallas, CD 34 coastal area in South Texas, and CD 35, which is primarily the San Antonio area. Now, by drawing race blind, which is what I did, I have not looked at nor considered racial data in drawing this map. By drawing race-blind, SB4's districts are substantially more compact with more reasonable geographic configurations that provide a better basis for representation. I'd like to show you a couple examples. Let's start with, and again, if you've picked up a map at the back, those of you in the audience, or just looking at the large ones in the back, but members, and with regard to District 32, and you can't see this very well from here, I know, but if you look at District 32, it has, where am I at? 32. Yeah, right, good, sorry. If you look at District 32 as it's drawn today, it covers it's over 2 counties, but it's very disjointed, and I know this area very well. It's very disjointed in the communities it reaches into and the roads it follows, and comes all the way here through South Dallas, up through Central, goes way up into Denton, and it curves down in odd structures and comes here. And the way it is done under this map, it is very compact and combines counties in a very, really, I think, appropriate way. Another example is District 35. This is probably the best example. It's one people often point to and pointed to often in testimony when they spoke of districts that were not compact. This district begins way down in Bexar County, and you can see it has some population down here. It gets very, very thin, exceptionally thin, as it traverses through Guadalupe and Comal counties, up through Hayes, along Caldwell, and then all the way up into Travis, and then takes unique turns and bends in Travis. In the proposed map, SB4, you can see that that CD 35 is now very compact, very clearly structured, and pulls together communities of similar interest with Karnes, Wilson, Bexar, and Guadalupe counties. So it is much, much more compact, and I'll tell you that the existing district is, I would suggest, one of the most oddly drawn districts in the country today. So I believe the map is much more compact than what we have in the current map. Now, and again, as I mentioned, my understanding is that these 5 districts, 9, 28, 32, 34, and 35, should perform on a partisan basis now for the Republican Party. Again, I want to say I did not look at racial data, but for the committee members in your bill packets, there is census data in the bill packets produced by Legislative Council to which you can refer if you wish to. Again, that is public census data. It is not racial data. Now, in conclusion, I would say that SB4, which is before us today, is more compact than the enacted plan, the current plan, and it complies with all applicable law. We've had plenty of opportunity for testimony with regard to redistricting and census data all the way back literally to 2021, and we've had a lot of discussion and 5 hearings thus far, with almost 4,000 people participating and 205 witnesses just before the Senate. We've had ample opportunity, and no one has presented data or a compelling case that this map violates any applicable laws. So it accomplishes what were my 2 objectives. First, that it perform better on a partisan basis for Republicans, but then second, that it be more compact as requested by so many of the witnesses. And with that, I would do my best to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Senator Miles, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the explanation you just gave. I'd like to start off by going back to July 21st, when we had a joint caucus of the whole, meaning we had the Democratic caucus and the Republican caucus, and this was our initial conversation about this redistricting. Our initial conversation in private, just us.
Yes, sir.
I want to make it very clear that, Mr. Chairman, when you made it clear that I would be on this committee, and I accepted it, and as well as you and the Lieutenant Governor, that my exact words to you were, I couldn't see the fight going any other way. If there was going to be a fight, I wanted to be in the room. So I appreciate you for allowing me to be here on this committee. But what I also said to all of my colleagues, to you of all my colleagues, is I've looked at this process, and if we're going to do this, is what I said to you, if we're going to do this, Senator Hughes, I'm going to expose it for what it really is. If you recall me saying that. I said I would expose it for what it really is, and in turn, each one of you would be exposed for carrying out this racist process. That's what I said to you on the 21st in the Betty King room when we first got together and talked about this process. Does any of my colleagues remember that?
I remember your comments then.
Okay, thank you, sir. Going past the 21st, Mr. Chairman, you said we had 205 individual witnesses testify. You also said that we had 38 that clicked on and watched, and don't know how long they clicked on, how long they watched. We don't have the record. They just clicked on and checked it out and checked it off, right? But we had 205. 205 is the number that you use. People who had testified. Now, citizens, I want you to know, and colleagues, I want you to know, for something as important as redistricting the entire state of Texas, I would believe that there are more than 205 people that would like to have some input. So if that is a point of success that you're speaking of there, sir, I would beg to differ, respectfully. Second, I'm glad and I appreciate, and I'm sure all the citizens of Texas appreciate you telling the truth, being honest. When you looked at that map, you said it was your intention to pick up 5 more Republican seats. Thank you for being honest on that, sir. We appreciate that. But that was correct me if I'm wrong, that was the direct instructions from the DOJ letter from Washington, D.C. that was ordered by Trump. That's exactly what it said. They wanted to pick up 5 more. Isn't that correct? Same thing said in the letter. The same thing you're admitting to is the same instructions they had in the letter from the DOJ. Is that correct? DOJ. Would you agree?
Answer?
Yes, sir.
I would disagree. First off, I had nothing to do with the DOJ letter. I've had no communications with the DOJ.
I'm sorry, sir. Before you're correct. The president said it, not the DOJ.
Okay. I've had no communications with the president or the White House. But yes, you're correct. My objective was when I look at the policies and the harm done to the nation through those policies in the 4 previous years, everything from a 30 trillion plus deficit to what we saw at the border, to the Venezuelan gangs, to the fentanyl crisis, problems with Russia and China, on and on and on, that it compels me to try to help make sure that we have a Republican Congress going forward.
So those are the direct orders. You would agree with me then that those are the direct orders from Donald J. Trump through the DOJ that came to our governor, that came to our lieutenant governor, that came to our attorney general, that came to you as the chairman of this committee, correct?
I've had no instructions.
And you followed it?
I've had no instructions.
You've had no instructions, but that's what was, we've gone through this once before, Senator King, Chairman King. We agree that was the order from the president?
So I carried the Congressional Redistricting Bill in 2003, and my objective then was to create more Republican seats, which we did, and that was my objective when I was asked if I would chair this committee this time. But I've received no directions from anybody in the...
Well, the letter's out there, and we'll leave it at that, and you didn't receive any direct from the president. But you are admitting that one of your objectives was to increase the congressional districts by 5 Republicans.
That was and is my chief objective.
Was and is. Okay, you probably don't know this because I just heard it on the radio this morning on the way in that A.G. Dillon would not come and speak to us She didn't respond to the letter that you wrote her, and we respectfully wrote that. I wasn't able to subpoena her per the vote for the committee, but she's out on radio talk shows. And this morning, she said that the reason that the governor gave the ability to call a special session and to put redistricting on call was to get 5 more additional Republican seats. Now, she won't come to tell us that. She won't even respond to us in a letter, my brother. But yet she's on a national network radio station all over the country saying exactly what she intended to do. And that was heard just this morning, sir. And it also said that King, but you said, Senator King, that you could do it in any time, which we understand that. I don't think we're questioning the redistricting being done now. I think the big question for the citizens of Texas is, why is it being done? And all we want we know why it's being done. We just wanted somebody of leadership of this state to say why it's being done. Senator King, you also stated that you were trying to give these congressional members a chance to testify. You also qualified the amount of communication this committee had with each of these officers in the way to make it seem though they were too scared or too damn good to testify before this committee. I heard you say that on yesterday when I was in Boston. But I also know at what time of day yesterday did you decide, because you and I communicated, at what time of day yesterday did you decide to let the congressional members come and testify?
So we had, as I mentioned,
I've got it right here when you communicated with me.
okay.
Senator King.
So, thank you, Chairman. I'm sorry. So, at the regional hearings, as I mentioned, we had 4 of them testify. And then you and I spoke on the phone Monday night. You called to ask some questions about redistricting. And I told you that we were having the invited testimony hearing Wednesday. And then you said, well, have you invited the congressional members? And I said, no, I haven't. And based on that suggestion, the next morning, we invited all the congressional members.
The next morning?
Tuesday morning.
About what time?
Before 10 a.m.
Before 10? Okay. And you expected them to be here, your congressional members, you invited right at 10 o'clock, 11, closer to 11, you invited them, and you expected for them to be here what time?
By 2 o'clock the next day.
That's what I thought. Okay.
And if I can finish answering that.
Yes, sir.
Senator King.
That was similar to the notice that brought 4 congressional members to testify the day before, or the week before. It is also, they all know we're in the middle of this redistricting. They all know the process. One of them is even a former senator, Sylvia Garcia.
Right.
They know that there's going to be opportunities for testimony when the bill is laid out, and they know how this works. And so
Okay.
I don't know how to give them longer notice,
Okay.
but based on your suggestion, early the next morning, we started the process, and by 10 o'clock I notified all 12 of them, and we did follow-up reach-outs to see if we could accommodate that.
And I thank you for that, Senator King.
Senator Miles.
Although they may have not have been here on yesterday, Senator King, you know that they did testify on House maps, on the House map, which is the same map that you filed. You understand that, right?
Yes.
Last Friday at the House Redistricting, rigged districting committee hearing, a large number of Texas congressional Democrats took their time to be here in person and testify against this map. I can specifically point to the following congresspeople: Greg Kazar, Jasmine Crockett, Lloyd Doggett, Sylvia Garcia, Al Green, and Mark Vesey were all here to testify on that same map. They testified to the constitutional issues of the VRA issues on this map. They told the committee that this was going to hurt the American people at large and their communities specifically. They embodied the most American of virtues, defiance in the face of oppression. They spoke up and they spoke out on that same map that you filed, SB4. This is the same map that was filed in the House. There are no differences except for one has an S and one has an H. If they choose not to accept the invitation to appear yesterday, that does not take away from their outcry they have made regarding this map. They still feel the same way, Mr. Chairman. We as a committee need to be honest with ourselves. No matter what is done today or tomorrow regarding this map, this is all just a political theater at its finest. And we've been playing it very good in this redistricting. Political theater. Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm a little angered by the actions of this committee and its pretext. Let us stop pretending that this is about the will of the people. It clearly has been a demonstration of action of this committee and its leadership in the state that we really don't care. Not we, y'all really don't care. Hundreds and hundreds of people have testified before the map came out and after the map came out. And it's done nothing to change the minds and directions of the leadership of this state, Mr. Chairman, members. Nothing. Hundreds of people have testified. When we began this hearing, Mr. Chairman, it was stated that your intention was to wait for a map to come over from the House, correct? But when it made clear that this map would not pass the House representatives because of lack of quorum of members, Senate Bill 4 was referred. Now go think about that. It's exactly the same map, Mr. Chairman. The same copy of the Congressional map put forth by the House Redistricting Committee. It is an exact map that breaks apart our minority communities and dilutes black and brown voting power, Mr. Chairman. It's as if the chambers were told, this is the map and this is what it's going to be, point blank, period. I have to ask, were we told that? Were you told that?
And I'm sorry, could you restate that question?
I would have to ask, if somebody must have told you all that this is going to be the map, point blank, period. The same map that's going to break up black and brown voting powers. Because it's the same map as the House.
Senator King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to correct one thing. My staff just corrected me that when we posted for Wednesday's hearing, we posted that on Monday. And as soon as we did, my staff emailed the staff of every senator on this committee and asked them to be sure and invite anyone they wanted to come to the invited testimony hearing and to just let us know. So actually, we had asked the Senate members to let us know of anyone they wanted to attend, congressional or otherwise, on Monday. So
anyone they wanted, huh? That's what you stated. Anyone they wanted?
Yes, anyone that they wanted, anyone that you wanted or any other member wanted to testify.
Understood.
Let us know and to go ahead and invite them.
But the question at hand.
The question at hand. So I think I'm correct in saying that anytime I've been asked about this, up until the time I decided to go ahead and file the bill, I had said that I was not sure if I would be drafting a bill or if I would wait on the House. As I watched along, as you did, the House hearings, as I learned about this map, no one ever handed me a stick drive with a map on it. No one emailed me anything and said, file this. Nobody did anything like that at all, from inside this building or outside this building. But I made the decision to adopt, as it were, HB 4 because I saw that it complied with the law and that it, from a partisan perspective, performed well, and that it was more compact than in some regards than the existing map. And so I decided to file the companion bill. I did talk with the House author about that. So yes, but this bill is adopted from the House. I didn't adopt it because it's the House's bill. I adopted it because it achieved those objectives that I mentioned of improving compactness and most importantly, performing better from a partisan perspective.
So a simple yes answer to the question, yes or no, is you were not told that this was going to be the map that we gave Texas?
No, I've never been told that.
Okay, thank you.
No.
That was, I just want to clarify the
I
question.
believe excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in, but I believe I had
King.
full freedom to file any bill, any map.
Yeah. So as I asked you on the floor many times, along with our other colleagues, so it's just coincidental that they just happen to be the same map?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator King.
No, it's not coincidental at all. I studied the House map, watched some of the hearings, had asked our legal counsel to review the House map to determine if they agreed that it was legal in all respects, and decided it was a good map, better for Texas, better for the nation, and that's why I decided to go ahead and file it.
Well, thank God.
Senator Miles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank God that in this particular special session for redistricting, it's not going to pass the House. It's going to be dead on arrival. We'll be here again for the next special session for redistricting. But Mr. Chairman, just a little bit more. Why are you further wasting taxpayers' time going through this motion? Are you just fast tracking Trump's racist agenda to get his approval so that we can, put it back on and so he can say to you, good job, Senator King, good job, Senator King? Because we all know that now that the House is gone, this Senate floor map, as we see it right now in this particular session, was going to die.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator King.
So I think your question is, knowing that the House has broken quorum, that the House Democrats have left the state, knowing that, why did I bother to go ahead and have this hearing now? I'll say that I thought about that a lot, but we don't know for sure. I think the last count I saw, they had 94 members present. They only needed 6 more to have a quorum. And so I thought if we went ahead and moved this bill forward, the House already has a bill on the floor. It's already through calendars for HB4. And if they come back that that they could expedite, and we have sent this bill to them, that the House could then simply, in the last days of the special session, pick up SB4 and substitute it for HB4 and pass it out. So I just used the same strategy for procedural strategy that you've used 100 times on 100 bills, is looking for any possibility to get your bill passed.
Yeah.
And that best possibility said move this one forward so that if the House does reach a quorum and that they can, that the Senate bill would be over there for them to pick up and pass out.
Okay.
Senator Miles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We as a Texas Senate, I remember back when we used to take pride, a lot of pride, colleagues. I want y'all to hear this. I remember we used to take a lot of pride in standing against the federal government telling us what to do here in Texas. Those are some good old days. But here we stand today doing exactly what the president's orders the governor to put us up through. It's kind of like the president told Governor Abbott to jump, and he asked how high. It's ridiculous because we had some rich days in being able to tell the federal government what we weren't going to do that they told us to do, Senator Hughes, Senator Paxton. And that's when we stood for something. We stood as Texans, independent, strong, free-minded, doing what's best for Texans instead of doing what's best for the President of the United States. For those of you who are here waiting to testify, be not dismayed. Speak the truth. Please speak the truth. Tell this committee what redistricting is going to do to your communities. To the Democratic House members that broke quorum, keep the faith and keep your fight. This state needs your bravery, and this country needs your bravery. I'm in full support of the House members and their quorum break. Yes, Mr. Chair, but I went to Boston to support them. I would have gone to Chicago, New York, wherever. but this hearing was called. If the citizens were going to come and testify, then damn it, I was going to be here to testify with them. Supporting their voices and making sure that they're heard. I'm here on this diocese for them and not for the President of the United States. The men and women of the House District Caucus decided to put the people of Texas first and lead the state by spreading the word of the injustices being done here and deny the legislation the ability to proceed with this racist map and these racist maps. And let me say this, packing black folks into one district and reducing their ability to have representation from 2 to 1, and then hiding behind the premises, we are keeping Barbara Jordan's seat intact. And if you're doing us a favor, this is disrespectful, it's very much disingenuous, and point blank low down. Think that minority communities can take, if you think that minority communities must take and what we can get is discriminatory, you do not have to call someone a racist slur to be a racist, Mr. Chairman and members. Sitting back participating in an august process, in an inherently discriminatory process, disenfranchising black and brown people is racist in all parts. For those of us watching this from out of state, just know, as Texas goes, the country's gonna go. Texas may be the first to be redistrict or rigged district, but your state is next. Finally, for those of you who are watching, yes, the Republicans have stacked the deck. And the passage of this map may happen. But I want all of you to know who are watching, they want you to be discouraged. They want you to be dismayed. They want to give you a reason to stay at home on election, but don't let them do it. This is my call to arms for you. Your vote is your weapon. I repeat, your vote is your weapon. Show them how you get down, and you know how you get down. Make sure that these maps don't give them what they want. Take yourself, take your neighbor, take your friend, take your parents, take their family, take them all to the voting box. Show them who we are. And let them understand that you are Texans. And Texans, we stand for something. Together, we keep the faith, we keep the fight, and together, we'll win.
Okay, at this time, the chair would like to remind those watching and participating today that registration will close in a little less than 10 minutes. So if you have not registered yet and you plan to testify today, please get your registration accomplished at the kiosk just outside the hearing room. This room is getting full. We have overflow rooms as well for those participating. Audio and video should be playing live from that room. You'll hear if the chair calls you to testify. Our overflow rooms are E1016 and E1028, and if needed, E1036 for anyone that needs additional space or to take a seat. I also want to remind those participating and watching that any reactions from the audience is not allowed in our hearings. We have to make sure that everyone with us is respected, everyone can see and participate and hear, and so there won't be any jeers or clapping or reactions or snapping from the audience. You'll hear some things today that you like. You'll hear some things today that are frustrating, but help us all and everyone that's here be respected and participate in the process without interruption. At this time, the chair will open up public testimony.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hinojosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I couldn't say it better than our colleague, Senator Miles, but just a couple of points and questions for our chairman.
Yes, you're recognized.
Yeah. One of the things that I look as I saw the map and I understand the goal of electing more Republicans. The reality is that the map, especially in South Texas, as you want to make it more compact, you're really dividing communities that have a common interest. For example, Hidalgo County is divided in half, maybe in 3 parts. The valley is certainly divided into 3 parts. So those are divisions that are taking place in terms of communities who have a common interest. In Nueces County, the county has been split also in half. So that's dividing our communities of interest. And I also know that you didn't look at any racial data, but I don't think that really matters. What matters is the result of that, and the result of that is discrimination against minorities, people of color. And the other comment I will make is, I know you went and pointed out about President Biden's administration, inflation, and what have you. I don't think that's useful for discussion here. I think we ought to just stay focused on the map that's before us, Senate Bill 4, and not get into all these other side issues that maybe we agree or disagree what President Biden did or didn't do, or what President Trump is doing or not doing. It will just stay focused on the map. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The chair would ask the clerk to show Senator Parker as being present, and Senator Hughes, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank each member. I thank each witness. We look forward to hearing from everyone, regardless of your position. And so, Chairman King, you talked about the motivation behind the bill, and redistricting is, I don't think, surely no one would dispute that redistricting is a partisan process. Always has been, always will be. We are a republic, a democratic republic, and there are votes and there's majorities and those decisions are made. But let me ask you, Mr. King, Chairman King, you mentioned that there's a national discussion going on about this. Let me just ask you a couple of questions. Have you heard remarks by the governor of California and the governor of Illinois and the governor of New York criticizing this process and accusing us of being partisan and improper in what we're doing? Have you heard those comments?
Yes, a number of times.
I have too. Did you know that the state of Illinois currently sends 17 members of the U.S. House? So of those U.S. House members, 17 of those are in Illinois. Now, you probably know that the current numbers show us that 56% of the vote in Illinois is going to Democrats, 56%. Did you know that of those 17 congressional districts in Illinois, 14 are electing Democrats? So that means though the vote is 56%, 82% of the seats are going to Democrats. Are you familiar with that?
I wasn't until a couple of weeks ago when all this started popping up, and I've seen a number of reports on different states, and it's that their districts are drawn in an exceptionally or severe partisan manner.
Senator, to your point, did you know that in the state of New York, where they have 26 members of the U.S. House, 26 in their delegation, Democrats get about 58% of the vote, but they have 19 of those 26 districts, 73%. And then perhaps the loudest critic and the one who's threatened to do more redistricting might be out in California. I can't recall the governor's name, but the governor of California. California, for now, has a larger congressional delegation than we do. Of course, their population's shrinking, ours going up, but we're going to catch up to them. We're going to catch up to them if there's a fair census, unlike the 2020 census that undercounted Texas and undercounted red states, but that's another topic. But in the state of California, where about 62% of the voters are voting for Democratic candidates, they have 52 members of Congress, and 43 of those, 43 out of 52, 82% are drawn to elect and are electing Democrats. I would note that they claim to have a nonpartisan redistricting commission there. Doesn't sound very nonpartisan to me. So a little context, Mr. Chairman, as we think about the partisan approach to these maps.
And
Senator King.
And I understand, I was speaking with someone from Massachusetts this morning, and they have 9 congressional members, and although they have a pretty substantial Republican voting bloc there, all 9 are drawn to be Democrat districts.
So in Massachusetts, where President Trump got in the mid-30s, almost in mid-30s of the vote, there are 0 Republican congressmen from Massachusetts.
0.
0. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Miles.
So, Senator Hughes, what's your point?
Senator, my point is that those
Is your point that you're angry?
Let me ask you a question.
We're going to have to keep.
Okay,
We're going to have to
okay,
keep.
okay,
Well,
okay.
it's not okay if I'm still talking.
Okay.
We're going to have to keep order in the hearing so that our audience and those watching can follow succinctly our discussions and our exchanges. We're going to have to be patient. We don't have a shot clock on this hearing, so everybody's going to have their say. Most importantly, you all that are here to testify. Senator Hughes.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Senator Miles, thank you for your question. A lot of our discussion has been about the partisan nature of redistricting and how those lines are reflected. And there's been a lot of national criticism amplified by people in Texas from other states and other state leaders criticizing this process for being partisan and suggesting that they do it in a nonpartisan way. Yet, Senator Miles, the results of their nonpartisan process yield hyper-partisan results, much more than Texas has today, much more than Texas would have even if even at the end of this process. I think that context from a partisan standpoint is important. That's my point. I hope I don't seem mad. I'm not mad.
Senator Miles.
So, are you saying it's okay for Texas to do because other states are doing it, but they're doing it in reverse?
I'm saying, Senator,
Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, I'm saying that the national voices that are criticizing this process and are being repeated around the state here need a little context. There's something that's important.
You know, I find
Senator Miles.
it very interesting that you're now saying it's okay for Texas to do it because other states are doing it, but they're doing it in reverse. And I've been in this building for 20 years now, and we've always stood tall as Texans. We've never compared ourselves to any other state in this country. We've never risen because the federal government told us to rise. Damn it, this is Texas. Okay, we're Texans. I really don't give a shit what goes on in the other community, in the other state. I just care about Texas. And the last time I checked, you represented community in Texas, like I'd have.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Hughes.
Senator Miles, thank you. If national voices, if leaders in other states whose voices are dutifully magnified by many in the national media, if they're going to criticize Texas and hypocritically, in the height of hypocrisy, criticize us for what we're doing, a little context is more. The Senator, that's not directed at you. As you know, I didn't have anything to say about your remarks.
Right.
That's about the national debate that we all find ourselves in.
But when did we as Texans?
Senator, we respond. Who's on? Go ahead, Mr.
Miles.
When did we start responding and succumbing to criticism and peer pressure? Texas, we always apply to criticism and to peer pressure. That's who we are. I never knew that now we're so weak in Texas that we're succumbing to criticism. I'm done, Mr. Chairman.
This time we'll open up public testimony. The chair will call Sarah West, Dedrick Wilmer, Amanda McLaughlin, and Janelle Zuberbeer. Is Janelle Zuberbeer here with us today? Janelle, please come forward. We were giving you time. No problem, no hurry. Ms. West, you may begin.
There we go.
Should be live
good
now,
now.
and if you can, please state your name and if you represent any outside organizations or just yourself today and your position on the legislation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Sarah West, and I am representing myself. I live in Northwest Austin in the current incredibly compact Congressional District 37. But under this new map, someone in the White House in Washington, not Texas, wants to move me into CD 10, which would be a district that stretches almost to Louisiana. That makes no sense. Austinites don't have the same concerns as people in East Texas. We deserve representation that represents and reflects our community. Meanwhile, my neighbor just down the road would get to remain in CD 37. So I called Representative Doggett's office to share my concerns. The woman who answered listened to me, and she even laughed when I told her to add exclamation points to my comments. The next day, I got a call from Madison. Yes, I'm still naming her, because she is doing the real work for Doggett's constituents. She made sure I knew about the House hearing last week because she wanted me to be able to use my voice while I still have it. But if this map goes through, I'll have to call Representative McCall's office, and they don't know me from anyone else. My voice will be lost in a district stretched far and wide by design. Last week, I submitted my testimony online, I watched hearings, and I testified here at the Capitol. Over and over again, you were told no by Texans from across the state. On HB4 and SB4, we are united. We don't want this. I stand with the House Democrats. They are doing the will of Texans because they understand changing the rules in the middle of the decade is cheating. If you care about the Texans you are elected to represent, you'll vote no. Divorce yourself from the demands of the White House. They want 5 additional friendly seats in the House of Representatives to escape oversight.
Ms. West, we'll have to stop there. Thank you
Okay.
very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Please. Go ahead, you may begin.
I'm Amanda McLaughlin. I'm speaking for myself. I've addressed many legislative hearings, and I've always tried to show respect, even when I didn't agree. I will continue to show respect, and in fairness, I have gotten respect from like Senator Hughes and a lot of people, but I have also lost respect from many legislators. When did a legislator become about serving a destructive president and serving your own needs above that of your constituents? Everyone knows that this is to get the president 5 more seats. The cost for this is high. This cost is a cold heart that tries to silence many black and brown people and anyone that doesn't agree with the policy of fear, hate, and division. You will try to silence us, but you don't understand the depth of our resolve. I consider the representatives that broke quorum heroes, and I support them. They are trying to defend the democracy you are so determined to destroy. Even if you win this redistricting, you will lose eventually. You can only suppress people so long. People like myself are tired of being bullied and have decided to confront the bullies. No matter how much you try to scare us and beat us down. I'm a transgender woman. I'm tired of hearing about my friends moving out of Texas because they are afraid. For many of you, that is a statement will bring you joy. The joy you feel speaks to how sick this government has become. Fear and hatred now control the actions of many here. What happened to loving your neighbor? What happened to legislators serving their constituents? It is now acceptable to disappear immigrants without due process. Are you so heartless that you don't feel the pain to people and families? You deny children lunches while passing laws that 10 Commandments have to be displayed in classrooms. I'm a Christian, and that is not Christian behavior. How can you justify hurting so many people because they don't look or think like you? Diversity is beautiful. Please replace the fear and hate with love. For Texas, the people of Texas, and yourself, please do not advance SB4. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. You may begin.
Thank you, Chairperson and members, for allowing testimony today. I am a proud union member of the Communication Workers of America, a single mother of biracial daughters, and a U.S. Army veteran. I'm also a Gen X woman who remembers walking in protests and rallies as a youth, fighting for the rights of all, and continuing the fight for my daughters and future generations to not be marginalized. To see that you are more worried about rigged districting only because Trump told you to.
If I could interrupt you, if you could state your name for the record.
I apologize, Janelle Zuberbier. To see that you are more worried about rigged districting only because Trump told you to than you are about the things we have been through recently. But no, you want to spend more time to create this crooked, gerrymandered, rigged districting map that is even worse than the current one we have, and that still has current litigation ongoing, instead of taking care of the issues that matter to Texans. This brazen move increases Republican representation by taking it away from communities of colors is shameful and racist. Texas has a long history of rigged districting against voters of color in the district maps. The racial gerrymandering in Texas has the aura of apartheid era white minority rule. But in Texas, whites like me are approximately 40% of the population, but control approximately 70% of the congressional districts. And in Dallas-Fort Worth area, where whites are only approximately 20% of the population, but have approximately 80% of the seats. Why would you do this to the people of Texas? Government works best solving the problems of ordinary people like me, a living wage, good public schools, and accessible, affordable, quality health care. We need to get politicians out of the map building process. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. The chair would like to remind the committee that public registration is now closed. Mr. Wilmer, we'll begin with you at this time. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. Chairman King and Vice Chair Creighton and the members of the committee. My name is W. T. Wilmer. I'm a proud Texan, a father, community leader, serving currently Harris County Municipal Utility District 248 and candidate for the Congress in the 9th District. I come before you today not just as a candidate, but as a citizen deeply concerned about the direction of our state and this country. Senate Bill 4 and the redistricting process as a whole is not just about maps. It's about power, accountability, and the sacred right of voters to choose who represents them. Let me be clear, I support fair and constitutional redistricting, but I also believe the process has too often been hijacked, not by policy, but by politics. When your colleagues fled the state to avoid voting on the issues critical to Texans, they not protect democracy. They protected seats. They protected feelings. In doing so, they turn their backs on the very people who elected them. People who expect their leaders to show up when it's hard. Redistricting should never be driven by racial fear tactics, unfounded accusation of discrimination meant to shut down an honest debate, but that only delays our real progress. Texas is changing, yes, but that change should be embraced, not manipulated. Our voters are smart. They're engaged. They deserve the opportunity to decide what's best for themselves, not to those decisions shaped behind closed doors or avoided through walkouts or staged media moments with our out-of-state governors. To Senator Boris Miles, and as well as Senator Carol Alvarado, who's not here today, I say this respect and conviction. This process isn't about you, isn't about me. It's about the voters. Let's stop preserving political careers and preserving the people's voice. But let me speak from the heart, Brother Miles. I understand the fear. I understand the concern in real time. In 1992, my sophomore year in high school in Baton Rouge, you all here at Ann Richards, we had to decide on David Duke. There's a talk that someone, maybe even a white nationalist or a Duke ex-gay, might try to exploit this new district as a knife to try to run it right now. I understand where you're coming from, but I trust these voters here in Texas, and I trust them.
Mr. Wilmer,
Thank you.
we'll have to stop there to make sure everybody has the same amount of time. Thank you. Members, any questions for this panel of witnesses? Thank you. Appreciate each of you.
Thank you.
At this time, the chair will call Monica Gonzalez, Daniel Segura Kelly, Chloe Wilkinson, and Machia Money. And I probably did not pronounce that first name correctly. If you could help the committee when you approach with the pronunciation. How do we properly pronounce your first name?
Miosha Money.
Miosha. Beautiful name.
Thank you.
Sorry I mispronounced.
It's okay. Thank you.
We'll begin with you.
Good morning. My name is Monica Gonzalez. I am a nurse and a proud member of National Nurses Organizing Committee and National Nurses United Texas. I live in Burnett County, and I currently work at Ascension Seton Medical Center in Austin. I've been there for 21 years on their neuromed-surg unit. I'm here today to speak out against this racially discriminatory redrawing of our congressional maps. As a nurse, we value caring, compassion, and our community. We care for anyone and everyone who walks into our hospital, no matter their political affiliation, gender, immigration status, race, or class. What we are now witnessing in our state with redistricting is a stark contrast to these values. The governor should focus this special session on issues everyday Texans are experiencing. This time could be much better spent. For example, in July, Congress passed a budget reconciliation bill that will have devastating impacts on healthcare access for millions of our patients. Many states have been scrambling to figure out what to do with the same level of federal funding for programs like Medicaid. Governor Abbott, instead of showing concern for our patients who may soon lose their healthcare coverage, has called a special session to further Trump's agenda. I am furious at our state elected officials who are using this time to further consolidate power instead of putting forward solutions to our impending healthcare crisis. Additionally, Texans are still wondering when the legislature will address flood relief and disaster recovery. As nurses, we see the devastating impacts natural disasters can have on individuals' health and entire communities. Texans deserve to know that they can rebuild and recover. This is about taking power away from everyday Texans and preserving power for the wealthy. This is a direct attack on democracy and the political power of working people. Nurses are sick and tired of watching elected leaders prioritize their donors and their agendas over the needs of Texans. Greg Abbott is letting Trump take over Texas with this redistricting scheme, and they're trying to suppress the votes of black and brown folks across our state to further diminish our voice and power.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Chloe Wilkinson. I am the Secretary of Texas Young Democrats. I'm going to repeat some points from my House committee hearing speech, but first let me just say to the Senate Democrats, thank you for your support with House Democrats breaking quorum. We need them to know that they are supported up and down from across the state by everyone. But let me just talk about why this redistricting is especially bad for Austin. I have lived in Austin for 4.5 years now, and I have 7 years of campaign experience. So I do sort of know how this is going to affect us from a field and constituent service perspective. First off, there was mention that these maps are compact, but when you look at the districts that represent parts of the greater Austin area, like CD10, CD11, and CD27, those are not compact districts. If you put them in a circle, they would not even constitute 25% compactness. Secondly, I really want to point out that we talk a lot about different racial groups are not monolithic. Why is it that the only congressional district that was majority white that voted Democrat is suddenly gone now? Also, CD37, if you look at it, it is 50% Hispanic, but in reality, because West Austin is completely segregated and is rich white people with a 17% higher voter turnout rate, it is in reality a white district that looks like a Hispanic district. So I really want us to realize here that this map may have been drawn race blind, but it is in fact going to hurt communities of color. Thank you, and I'm happy to take questions.
Appreciate your testimony.
Hi, good morning, committee. My name is Daniel Suda Kelly. I'm speaking for myself. Today, I'm conflicted because Texans experienced an enormous loss of life on July 4th due to a natural disaster that we could have been better prepared for. Now could be an excellent opportunity to bring Texans together and solve big problems. One of those problems is that Texans believe that the congressional maps have been designed to break communities apart, and they're not wrong to think so. This proposed congressional map violates the principle of preserving communities of interest, and it tears through the southeastern Travis County community of Del Valley, my community. Texans don't believe that our congressional maps fairly represent our communities, and Texas Republicans are now acknowledging that there is a problem with our maps. So we agree, Texans agree, we can be using this time to pass legislation that many Texans want, legislation that would establish an independent redistricting committee. Instead, we're here fighting MAGA Republicans from establishing a one-party state. Many who have spoken have tried to appeal to the rationality of their Republican colleagues. I need to direct my words to Senate Democrats. My uncle was the general superintendent of the Church of the Nazarene. In the Church of the Nazarene, the general superintendent is essentially one of the 6 popes. Another uncle was president of the Nazarene Bible College. I share this to establish my credibility as a former Christian nationalist. I've been in the room with leaders in the Christian nationalist movement. Democrats, please look at your Republican colleagues. The eyes that are either looking back at you or avoiding your contact see you as soulless enemies. These are people capable of looking you in the eyes and telling you they love you, and in the same breath will sentence you to hell. Get out. You must get out. You are not working with people who are here in good faith. I need you to know that these are people who have a depraved indifference to democracy. They intend to annihilate democracy and establish a theocracy. You are attempting to work with people who are fundamentally different from us.
Thank you.
When you and I watch The Handmaid's Tale and recoil at the scenes, they salivate.
Your time frame.
This is the world they want to create.
Sir, we have to stick with our allocated time frame or it's disrespectful to the other witnesses. Thank you. Yes, please, go ahead. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Miosha Money. I'm a deputized voter registrar, community advocate, and proud public servant for the people in Houston, Texas, Harris County, especially in Congressional District 9 and 18. I stand for the people, the real ones. We want maps. We want real maps. We want access to the ballots. We want leadership, and we want to fight for what's righteous and not for against us, nothing for against us. HB 4 is just another chapter in the same tired playbook. We saw this similar back in 2021, where they rolled out the Senate Bill 1, SB 1. That made it harder for the people to vote, especially the seniors with disabilities, the folks with language barriers, the Black and brown communities, and the ones just trying to survive. As I spent so much time educating and informing individuals about the questioning, I see the concerns in their faces and their voices, and somehow they have some sort of confusion and intimidation regards to this bill. But you guys want our votes all the time. Y'all are steady asking for our votes. We're tired of knocking and asking to be let in. We're tired of begging. We're tired of this. Now, at this time, we're not asking. We're just going to go ahead and kick it down. Our neighborhoods, our kids, and everything are being affected. So let me make this clear and let me make this loud. I stand against HB 4, I stand against gerrymandering, and I stand against voter suppression and intimidation. And let's make this clear, we're not backing down and we're just getting started. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Each of you members, any questions? Thank you. The chair will now call Nicholas Little, Veronica Worms, Emily French, and Anthony Gutierrez.
Anthony's on his way in.
We'll give Mr. Gutierrez time, and we'll begin with you. Go ahead.
My name is Veronica Worms, and I am a policy attorney representing the Texas Civil Rights Project against SB4. This map is a blatant attempt to rob Texans of color of their political power. Despite the fact that 95% of Texas's population growth was in communities of color, the 2021 maps did not produce additional opportunity districts for Texans of color. This proposal makes an already discriminatory map that is still being litigated even worse. If it were implemented, white Texans who comprise only 40% of the population would control 79% of the congressional delegation. Texans know an unfair system when they see one. The district lines here cannot be explained away on partisanship. As the Supreme Court noted in Bartlett v. Strickland, a state intentionally destroying effective crossover districts raises serious constitutional concerns. The DOJ's letter, while completely misstating the law, cited impermissible racial considerations in 4 majority-minority districts, not a quest for partisan advantage. What the legislature delivered with SB4 is a map that brazenly and intentionally cracks historic majority-minority districts, including court-ordered BRA districts, and then packs other minority groups into tight urban areas to dilute their political power. That is targeted racial discrimination, plain and simple. The lengths the state has gone to deny Texans fair representation in this redistricting farce are staggering. The Supreme Court has said that redistricting mid-decade to replace a court-ordered map is allowed, but that's not what's happening here. The House had only 3 regional hearings to encompass the 30-plus million Texans spread over more than 268,000 square miles. Only 5 hours of public testimony were allowed per hearing, so only a max of 150 Texans could speak. Less than 48 hours after the last regional hearing, this map appeared. The Senate had 4 virtual hearings where, again, the vast majority of witnesses opposed this out-of-order redistricting, and the exact same map was filed. Its drafters clearly disregarded the public's testimony on the impact of redistricting on their communities and their overwhelming opposition to this rushed redraw. We urge the committee to focus on disaster relief rather than creating a new disaster in this destructive and discriminatory map.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Very much. You may begin.
Hi, I'm Emily E.B. French. I represent Common Cause Texas. I'm far from the first to share my disappointment that this legislature is putting gerrymandering over disaster relief, but I also believe this legislature is making future disaster relief harder with gerrymandering. Right now, we're sitting in CD 37. Under a new map, we'd be sitting in CD 10. This Capitol complex would share a U.S. House rep with students at Texas A&M, 87 miles away, the people of Centerville, 124 miles away, and the people of Segno, 183 miles away. But under this proposed map, if I walked 1,000 feet to Texas Chili Parlor, I would be in CD 37 again. Imagine that you live at the Capitol, which I'm sure is not hard for many members of this committee, and a natural disaster strikes. Let's say that the power goes out, my phone has like 15%, I only have enough juice to call my congressional rep. I want to use this constituent services to find resources, locate warming or cooling centers, and connect with other folks who are helping out near me. If my friends at Texas Chili Parlor have to walk over, these maps would force them to get help from a different representative. By drawing our communities apart, you're making it harder for neighbors to help each other. If my cousins in Pflugerville need help, these maps would force them to call a different third representative in CD 11, who would also represent our uncle 65 miles away in Llano, the people of San Angelo 180 miles away, and Midland 283 miles away. Pflugerville is 14 miles away from the Capitol. This map has Pflugerville in with Midland and the Capitol in with Segno, and Midland is 430 miles away from Segno. That is 11 and a half Rhode Islands laid end to end. I believe the chair and I have different definitions of the word compact. I'm a lifelong Texan. I was born in Houston, where hurricanes constantly happen. I was raised in Tornado Alley. I now live amongst freezes and floods in central Texas. When natural disaster strikes, I lean on my neighbors and they lean on me. This map makes it harder for Texans to help each other. Please do not pass it. Thank you.
Mr. Little.
Good morning. First, giving my regards to the chair. Vice Chair, my state senator, Senator Boris Miles over here. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be here. I'm here, I represent the Houston branch NAACP. I am also a Navy combat veteran, graduate of the United States Naval Academy, class of 2008, and I'm a Texan. And I'm here because I'm here advocating and speaking on behalf of the constituents and the people of Houston who feel like they are voiceless or feel as if, if they're not at their table, that they're on the menu. And I think it's imperative that we take notice to realize that the constituents, the people, are the people that we're supposed to be listening to, not the federal government. Otherwise, we have no state sovereignty. And it concerns me, and it concerns many of our constituents and many in the room, that we are currently at a point right now where we are willing to listen to what's going on from somewhere else versus doing what's good for Texas, as stated by members of the committee. So I'm just hoping that today and going forward, that everyone here and everyone that's not in the chamber that are able to vote on this will make the right decision and do it based on the conscience of Texas and not on the conscience of anyone that considers themselves practically a king or anyone who is seemingly undermining our democracy. That is not why I served my country for 10 years. That's not why many people in our community fight to be elected to office, to just bow down to any type of tyrannical force at any person's will. We are here all as Texans, but more importantly, we are Americans. And that's what makes our country great. That's what makes our state great, is being able to realize and understand that this is who we are. So I just want to ask that everyone here just really take in consideration all the testimonies being given, all the testimony that will be given, and just please keep in mind that as Texas, we've always stood strong, and it is imperative that we maintain that stability, and we maintain that to represent that across the country as well. Thank you.
We appreciate each of you and your testimony. Thank you for your service to our nation, Mr. Little. Senator West, we welcome you to the committee today and appreciate you joining us, and you're recognized if you have a question for Mr. Little.
I don't know that it's for Mr. Little. It may very well be for the author of the bill based on the testimony of this panel. In terms of deliberating on exactly what's taken into consideration in recommending this bill or amendments thereto, how will the testimony received by the committee, by people that have taken their time out to express their opinion on the bill, be utilized?
Is that a question for me?
Yes. Is that directed at me as currently, or
the author of the bill, Senator King?
Senator King.
Okay.
Did you understand the question?
I think so.
Let me make sure you understand
okay,
it.
Please.
We've had, and I've been listening to the testimony, and we've had hundreds of people testify on this particular bill. 205. And it would seem, based on what I've gleaned, most of them have testified against this process and now also on this particular bill. And my question is, in terms of what your recommendation is going to be on this particular bill or amendments requested, how will the testimony of citizens that have taken their time to testify be taken into consideration?
Certainly.
Mr. King.
Thank you. And as to amendments, we'll just look at each amendment independently, and those decisions will ultimately be made by it'd be floor amendments, and they'll be made by the 31 or 30 now senators on the floor. They'll make that decision in a vote on each amendment. I would say as to how his testimony taken into account, I think each senator represents their roughly 1 million people in their district, but they also represent the state as a whole. And I think each senator will.
In all due respect, that's not the question I asked about the other senators.
Well, Senator West, let him complete his thought, because he may end up at that destination.
He may end up, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting there. But I was just going to say each of us will take into account all the information put before us, our personal analysis of the bill, what we believe that our district wants, I think, and the testimony that was provided both in the Senate and probably in the House too. I watched some of the House hearings, and contacts that we're getting from constituent calls and emails and letters, and I think I would expect we would all take all of that into account in making our decision on how to vote on any amendment or on the bill itself.
Okay,
Senator West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I was referring to you, not everybody else. I mean, as the author of the bill, you are going to have to make a determination as to what bill actually comes to the floor for consideration. And normally what we do in this process that I've been involved in for a long time now is that we listen to the testimony, and based on the testimony, we take the bill, end up having a substitute and things of that nature based on the testimony that we hear. And so I guess the question I'm asking is not as it relates to other senators, but more specifically as to you, as the author of the bill. Are you going to take into consideration that hundreds of people that have testified showed up at these particular hearings in deciding what bill and or substitute that you will bring to the floor? And if so, how will you do that?
Senator King.
Well, my intent is, as chair, to bring the bill up at the conclusion of testimony today for a vote before the committee, and to recommend that the committee favorably report the bill to the Senate. And then if it passes out of the committee, and if it's brought to the floor, then it would be my intent to recommend to the floor that we support the bill.
Okay, so the testimony that you've heard over these few weeks has been loud and clear that this process is not favored by Texans, correct? And the testimony that I've heard so far today is that this map is not favored by Texans. You will not take that into consideration in terms of making a recommendation to the committee and or to the Senate. Is that correct?
Senator King.
So much of the testimony that I've heard, and I've taken it all into consideration, one of the things that pushed me toward this particular map, a great deal of the testimony has been that the existing map is not as compact as it could be. And I believe this map takes strong steps in that direction. We discussed earlier before you got here specifically with regard to districts 32 and 35 are very good examples of that. So I believe it reflects the testimony that we've seen in that regard. I also believe that most of the testimony that I've heard has been with regard to racial considerations, and I think it's totally inappropriate to take racial considerations into account when drawing a map. I think that that's not preferred by the law, to say the least, and I think it would be inappropriate. So I think much of all the testimony that's been suggesting that this map was drawn on a racial basis is inaccurate and incorrect. And so I'm disregarding that part of the testimony because I didn't take race into account, and I don't see race in this map.
Okay, and I understand that.
Senator West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. At all due respect, when you begin to look at the map itself and take into consideration not just the map, but the whole process, 2021, we had a map that the Attorney General in the state of Texas is defending in federal court right now. And then we get a letter. Trump says that he needs 5 seats from Texas. And then we get a letter from the Department of Justice. I think that's a chronological order. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, there's no map, because I've asked you about maps, and then a map shows up in the House. Then we have the quorum, the parliamentary use of quorum breaks in order to stymie the efforts, and then another map is filed over here. I think that's the order of events. People have testified against these maps, against the maps in the entire process, and the only districts that end up, frankly, for the most part, being cracked and packed are minority districts. More specifically, I'll give you an example, the district in Dallas. And I hadn't looked at the maps in a while. All the economic engines are being taken out of the district in Dallas for some strange reason. Can you help me understand that?
I'd have to ask you, I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'd have to ask you to be more specific.
As it relates to what district or what?
Well, what economic engines, what district, what congressional member?
Sure. Okay. Jasmine Crockett, her district. Okay. It's, as I understand it, and I stand to be corrected if necessary, the airport, downtown area, the medical center, law schools, and all that have been taken out for some reason. And if race is not a consideration, why would that happen?
Well, I know I represent Tarrant County, and even though Lockheed is across the street from my district, I still aggressively represent Lockheed. And I don't think because you've moved a hospital district or you've moved a district outside a hospital district, if it's still in her primary county, I assume she's going to continue to represent that as aggressively as she would otherwise. downtown Fort Worth is not in my district, but I'm actively involved in representing and being supported by businesses and folks in the downtown area. So I don't think you can draw a line like that and say because the hospital district's no longer in her district that she's not going to be working for and representing that hospital district.
So you agree with me that that should not be a partisan consideration, right? In terms of whether or not you move or don't move a hospital district or a downtown area. And so in drawing maps, you shouldn't take into consideration moving economic engines of a particular district to accomplish a partisan result. You would agree with that, based on what you just said?
I don't.
Senator King.
I don't think that's what I just said. I think what I said, you asked me specifically about her district. I think that, as I said earlier, that you should not take, that I did not take racial factors into consideration. I think that the map is more compact than the existing map. I think that it achieves the objective that at least I had of performing better from a partisan perspective for Republicans. And I think that that it is drawn in a manner that's going to continue to allow members of Congress to represent their districts and the areas surrounding their district like we all do. As I said, I'm Tarrant County, and I try to I only have about a third of Tarrant County, but I try to represent all of Tarrant County and help. And the other senators in Tarrant County do the same thing. And I believe this map takes into consideration what is traditional redistricting criteria, and I think it's a very supportable map.
Okay, and I understand,
West.
Mr. Chairman, and I know this committee is laboring because I've been on this committee several times before myself, and I'll have extensive questions for you on the floor because you weren't really responsive to the question that I asked, to be honest with you. But because again, I asked about the partisan piece in terms of taking the economic engines out, and if it's not a partisan issue, then why were they taken out? Okay, I mean, just because you have economic engines like downtown Dallas, the medical district, law schools, and things like that, you don't need to take those out of a minority district in order to establish, to accomplish your goal of increasing partisanship in the state of Texas. But yet and still, that's what was done by the map drawers. Speaking of the map drawers, did you draw this map? Or who drew the map?
Senator King.
Okay, I've adopted HB 4. My understanding was traditionally the way it's worked is the congressional delegation usually has someone draw a map. I believe, I think I'm correct in saying in 2021, the Redistricting Trust, which is an organization that's involved in redistricting across the country, they helped draw the map for the Republican congressional delegation in 2021. My understanding is that the Redistricting Trust drew this map as well as others, and this was the map that was adopted by the House.
Okay, so the Redistricting Trust drew this map.
I think they participated in drawing the map, is my understanding.
Did you have any input in drawing the map?
None at all.
Because it was given to you.
No.
Well, let me finish. It was given to you, and you were asked to carry this particular map without you having any input into what the impact of this map was.
Senator King.
No, not at all. As I've said repeatedly in the hearings and in caucus, that I considered drawing a map. I had been considering waiting for the House map to come over. No one ever handed me a map. I was not given directions on whether or not on any map to take. But as I watched the House hearings, and I stated this earlier before you got here today, as I watched the House hearings, and as I looked at this map and I thought it was more compact than the existing map, I asked our legal counsel to review it to see if they came to the same conclusion that the House Counsel had, that the map was legal under all applicable law. They reported back to me that it was, and then I filed the bill on Monday. Rather than wait for the House bill to come over, because things were stalling in the House, which is a procedural and way of passing legislation the same way you've done it 1,000 times over your decades in the House and the Senate.
Decades.
Okay.
Okay.
If you're working on a companion bill and the bill on the other side of the body begins to stall, then you will file it over here and try to get it moving as a companion. And that's exactly what I did. I decided that the House bill was a very good bill, that it accomplished the purposes that I had in looking for a bill, looking for a map. And I went ahead and decided to file it when it stalled in the House because the Democrats left the state. And my opinion is when things stall, then you try to find a way to move forward, and that's what I did and why I filed this map.
Senator West.
In closing, all due respect, I think that listening to public testimony here is just checking the box. That's all it has.
That's it.
The reality is that this testimony that is being given by citizens of the state of Texas is not really going to be taken into consideration, given the fact that you've already said that whatever happens in terms of testimony of citizens, you're going to make a motion today to approve this particular map and send it to the floor. That's what I heard you say. Is that correct?
Senator King.
Well, I would take the testimony of one person who's on this panel before us. The way I understood her testimony was that a map should be drawn from a percentage basis that directly reflects the racial makeup of Texas. And I do not agree with drawing a map on that basis. So in that regard, that particular testimony, I would disregard because I think that's the wrong way to draw a map.
What about, Mr. Chairman?
Senator West.
What about communities of interest?
Senator King.
I believe this map, being more compact than the existing map, improves communities of interest.
How so?
Well, I'll use District 32 and District 35 as examples. District 35, for example, now begins way south in Bexar County, takes extremely difficult jigs and jags as it progresses all the way up into northern Travis. District 35 under this map becomes very well-aligned communities of interest in the counties of Guadalupe, Wilson, Karnes, and what's a more rural area of Bexar. And this is a much more compact district than the existing 35, and there's other examples throughout the map.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator West.
And so let's stay with Bexar, because I don't know that much about that particular area other than I know San Antonio was there. And so you've taken the urban communities of Bexar County and aligned them with rural communities in Wilson and also Karnes County. Is that correct?
Well, it's much like my Senate district that takes parts of Fort Worth and then aligns it with the suburban areas of Parker County, which would be that area of Bexar County, I guess, would be more of a suburban area, and then connects it with, in my area, connects it with the rural counties that are to the west and south of that. And so that's just what you have to do in Texas because of the difference in population in our urban and rural counties. So you're always having to reach in and pick up some population. But what I'll tell you is just looking at the map, common sense tells you that a map that is compact, a district that is compact as opposed to one that is long and thin and jiggled and jaggled, that compact one is more compact. I don't know how else to put that.
Again, I'm talking about communities of interest. So when you did your analysis for that particular area to make a determination as to whether those were communities of interest, what did you take into consideration, if anything?
Well, I mean, generally speaking, an inner city area is going to have a little bit different primary issues before it than a suburban district might have, which will have a little bit different ones than what a rural area might have, although they all have overlapping issues. And so I think when you're trying to draw a map and you're trying to get 766,000 people into 38 districts, you obviously you're going to have to draw districts that are outside, that reach into urban areas, but also extend into rural areas. And I think when you compare, in this case, District 35 as example, the existing 35 to the proposed 35, the proposed 35 in any common sense is more compact.
Is that
Senator West?
Oh, okay. And members, I apologize. I'll save a lot of these questions for the floor. But again, out of all due respect, I asked about communities of interest. You talked about compactness. I understand what you're talking about with compactness, but the question is, what factors did you take into consideration to make a determination as to whether or not there were communities of interest?
Communities of interest.
Let me finish, sir. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
And so the question is that communities of interest, I mean, do people have the same types of, I guess you could say they go to the same churches? Are they, what elements of communities of interest that's been recognized by law did you take into consideration?
Well, it can be a lot of things. As you said, it can be the fact that that there's a River Oaks neighborhood.
In the 35?
I'm just throwing out a name of a neighborhood.
Well, I was talking about 35.
We'll call it Meadowbrook.
I'm talking about 35.
Okay.
I'll do respect.
No, you're not. No, it's not being with due respect.
Let Senator
I'm
King
trying to
answer
answer the
the
question. I'm trying to answer what you ask. What I mean by what I take into consideration in a community of interest, which is one of the traditional redistricting criteria.
Exactly.
All right. It can be many things. It can be a historic neighborhood, okay, or it can be the regional water areas. It can be the regional transportation areas, the TxDOT zones. It can be the economic development areas. And I'll use as another example, my home county of Parker, a large percentage of the folks in Parker County drive to Tarrant County for work. So in that regard, there's a community of interest in the commuting, in the jobs that are provided in Tarrant County, and the families that live in Parker. Now, as Tarrant moves into Parker and more of that business moves into Parker, we share that economic base. So communities of interest can be anything, and particularly in a county the size of Tarrant. Now, when you look at 35, you see those large rural counties, and you also see a larger population base in the more suburban area of and less developed areas of Bexar County, and they're going to be more aligned from a community of interest standpoint than they would if you had picked inner city San Antonio. And I think it's a very good district.
Okay.
And I'll also suggest that no one on this committee has offered amendments to change that district, and anybody is certainly available to, or has the option of offering amendment to change that district on the floor. But my point is, when I look at it, it is a much more compact district, and compactness takes into account geography and all the traditional redistricting criteria. And any common sense look at it says it's a more compact, better designed, easier to represent from a driving distance for the congressional member, and it's just a better district all around in its geography.
Okay, it sounds like you've used the word compactness about 10 times. So
Senator West.
Mr. Chairman, it sounds like you used the word compactness several times in your response to me. I appreciate your response, but it seems like compactness was the number one element that you took into consideration in drafting or presenting this particular map. Thank you, sir.
Members, any questions for this panel? If not, thank you each for your testimony. Senator Miles, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator West, let me just answer your questions that you were trying to get answered as you exit. The gentleman's name is Adam Kincaid, who's out of Virginia, who wrote this map. And it's just coincidental that he runs the National Republican Redistricting Committee. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's done so for a while now, and he lives out of Virginia. That's who actually drew this map. And for the numbers, Senator, we had 205 today, as of today. And I'd be generous in saying that 5 of those were for the map and the 200 were against. Now today we've got 117 signed up against the map and 3 for the map. So now what the chairman's gonna do with those numbers, that's up to him. You asked him that question. He's gonna have to give you that answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Miles. We'll proceed with our public testimony. The next panel the chair will call again Anthony Gutierrez, Andre Wagner, Nicolette Ardiente, Dylan Flahardy. You may begin, sir.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. I appreciate your time and allowing us to be here. My name is Dylan Flaherty. I'm here to represent myself. I'm also a candidate for Congress in Texas's 37th District here in Austin. I find myself incredibly frustrated with the purpose of this. There are far more pressing needs in Texas. Flood relief, public school funding, making lives for Texans better. And yet, we're bickering over partisan politics coming from the president. It's incredibly frustrating. I also want to call out something that I find incredibly disingenuous. The chair mentions that these maps are more compact, and he cites District 35 continuously. Yet, District 11 in the new map spans from Pflugerville to west of Midland. As I'm sure that Senator Sparks would understand, the needs of Midland and the needs of Pflugerville are far different. And so saying that they're more compact, allowing for easier drivability is a joke, because it's a 6-hour drive from Pflugerville to Midland. Again, this is all coming from the President of the United States. And I don't understand as Texans why we're all of a sudden bending the knee to the federal government. As a Texan, I believe that we're Texans, that we stand above that. And as we sit here right now, the FBI has accepted to hunt down House members of Texas. And no one seems to be crying afoul to that. Now, if the roles were reversed, if this was the Biden administration or the Obama administration, I know all of you would be screaming from their rooftops. So I look at all of you today, and I ask you to reject this measure. To imagine if the roles were reversed, what would you say? Because this isn't democracy. You're not allowing us to choose our representatives, you're choosing your voters.
Hello.
Go ahead. Yes, you may begin.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. Good morning. My name is Nicolette Ardiente. I am here representing myself and the State Democratic Executive Committee of Congressional District 23. I'm on the outskirts of San Antonio that goes all the way to El Paso right now. And like many of y'all, I do also have constituents that I report to that come to me regularly and ask me about, like, hey, what are the issues that are happening not only with the Democratic Party, or how can I get in contact with my representative? Their issues, again, from San Antonio to El Paso, range so differently, from Del Rio to Maverick County, Eagle Pass to Crystal City, Zavala. Like, these are all rural towns. And I've heard so many folks on this dais talk about CD 35 in Bexar County. Respectfully, you do not live in Bexar County. You don't know the issues that impact us in Bexar County. Yet you want to refuse to hear the public testimony of Texans who, like working class Texans, wish they could be here in front of y'all to talk about why redistricting is so impactful to them, but they're not given that opportunity. They have to work. They have to make sure their kids are getting ready for school next week. But y'all are not giving every single Texan that opportunity. And as the gentleman mentioned, being frustrated is almost like, we carry it with a pride as Texas now, because we don't have the representation that we truly deserve. Again, from San Antonio to Del Rio to Eagle Pass, all over Southwest Texas, I have constituents who are constantly asking for help. If you want, you could split up Congressional District 23, but nobody wants to talk about that because that's a solidly Republican district. I really want to see leadership that shows up for Texas, and I do commend all of the Texas Democrats that have fled the House, fled the Senate to do so. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you. You may begin.
Thank you. My name is Andre Wagner. I'm also representing the Houston Black American Democrats. I come here as a resident of Congressional District 18. I've lived in Congressional District 18 for over 20 years. My mother lives in Congressional District 18. My sister lives in Congressional District 18. Please do not split up our district. Do not pack and crack us like we did in Beaumont. Beaumont, for over 30 years, was a solid Democratic seat that was represented by a wonderful member, built on communities of interest of Latinos and African Americans who voted together. But now Beaumont is split in half. But in Houston, there's too many of African Americans there, so instead you pack us in one district. Now the only real thing I would ask is, instead of voting on making new lines, perhaps put a law in place requiring our governor to call an election after our congressional representative has died. I currently reside in Congressional District 18, and I have no congressional representative, and I have not had so for over 5 months. In Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, all Republican states, require their governor to have and hold a special election within either 60 or 100 days of a vacancy. All of them Republican states. Please, if you want to do something about elections, how about requiring our governor, like 4 other Republican states do, to have a special election when there's a vacancy that occurs? I am now without representation. You all are talking about effective representation, and my community does not have so because the governor has chosen not to call an election until November. That makes no sense to me. And so please, while we are talking about having effective representation, I think right now my family, my community is disserved by what's going on in Texas, by what's going on in Congressional District 18. So please implore for my family and yours for better representation. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Members, any questions? Senator Miles?
Thank you. Andre, let me say thank you for being here today, and thank you for the support your family's always given our community, not just me, but our community. And I think your math's a little wrong. Brother Turner has passed for 5 months, but we've actually gone without representation in 18 almost a year now. Okay, it's been almost a year that we've gone without proper representation consistently in the 18th Congressional District. You should also know that based on this map that is being presented to us today, we are overpacked. They have taken Senate District 9, Congressional District 9, which was an African American district belonging to Congressman Al Green, put 70% of his district into the 18th Congressional District, which is already an African American district, which now makes Senate District 13 the largest African American, the only African American, and the largest African American senatorial district in the country, damn near. Y'all understand that? So that's packing. That's heavy packing. But they've taken away one of our voices. We had where we had 2, we now only have 1. That's some serious packing. Thank you for your testimony today. And to the gentleman who first spoke, it's absolutely correct. They're not allowing constituents to choose their electeds. This is allowing electeds to choose their constituents. okay? And that's where we're wrong. And as far as my colleagues in the House who are being chased like runaway slaves, and the only pursuit they're trying to do is protect democracy, we have to stand with them, because that's all they're doing is trying to protect democracy, and they're being chased away and they're being entrapped like runaway slaves. Thank you.
Senator King.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. Is it Flaherty?
Flaherty, yes.
Flaherty, thank you. I just wanted to respond to what you said about District 11 and going from West Texas, from Midland, actually goes from Ector County, which is one county to the west, into Travis County. In the current map, it goes from Ector County into Bell County. And so it's almost really the same footprint. It just, instead of picking up some additional population in Bell, it dips in and picks some out of Travis. So the distance from east to west in the current map is really the same as the distance from east to west in the proposed map, and I just wanted to point that out.
Do I have a chance to respond?
Certainly.
I just find it hypocritical
at
that
chair's discretion, but I'm sure.
So you talk about this thin line that goes down I-35, but in District 11, that thin line follows along the Williamson County and Travis County border. So it's the same thing, and then it balloons out into West Texas. It's a 5.5, 6 hour drive. And by saying that it already exists to some extent doesn't make it any better, especially when you're claiming that the 35th district.
But you understand in West Texas, for you to be able to get 766,000 people together, you've got, so these numbers will be a little bit off, but I think they're still pretty close. So if you look at the I-35 corridor, even though you've got large cities like Amarillo, Lubbock, Wichita Falls, Midland, Odessa, San Antonio, west of I-35, even though Abilene, even though you've got all those cities, still only about 14.5% of Texans live west of the I-35 corridor. And if you look at the East Texas, the I-45 corridor, only about 8.5% of Texans live east of that. Most of the population is in the triangle. So if to comport with one person, one vote, which is very important, because if you live in a district that's got 100,000 people and I live in one that's got 50,000 people, my vote's worth twice as much as yours. And that's why the most fundamental thing in redistricting in congressional districts is equal population. So if you're going to put together a district into West Texas that's got 766,000 people in it, you've got to come east. And you're going to have to pick up population out of Williamson or Bell or wherever it is. And so my only point was that you had said it was wrong to come all the way from Ector County to Travis County in a new map, and I was just simply saying that the footprint really hasn't changed. It's just going from Ector County into Bell County, which is just one county north of, or 2 counties north of Travis County. So it's still that same spread, but you just don't have any other way to draw those West Texas districts and comply with the most fundamental purpose of redistricting.
That is so intellectually lazy. Like,
no, it's not.
honestly, that is the most intellectually lazy argument I've heard thus far.
It's just simple.
Sir,
You can drive.
We're not here to debate. We certainly had Senator King as the author choose to make some comments based on testimony and offered you the opportunity to respond, but we have to continue along or we're going to lose witnesses that are on time frames to have to get back home.
Thank you.
So
thank
you
you
for that,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Simple math.
Thank you for your testimony as well. Very much appreciated. We're all listening very closely. Thank you both as well. We'll call the next panel Dr. Craig Nazor, Robert Norris, Susan McNeil, Emily Amps. Please come forward, and we'll begin with Dr. Nazor.
Hello, my name is Dr. Nazor. I'm the Conservation Chair of the State Chapter of the Sierra Club. Cyrus Reed, our Conservation Director, has submitted some really good points here about how this redistricting negatively affects people's power to control the kind of environmental issues we have. One point I'd like to say is about this compactness. District 10 has not been compacted since it was first drawn. It looks like a python that swallowed an elephant, and it continues to look that way, and it's highly unrepresentative. Another district that I'd like to talk about, it's in the valley actually, it's a couple of them, and it's about Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi Harbor is facing huge challenges with pollution. And desalination plants and LNG plants, and there's an ethane cracker plant there now. And what's happened, even though some of the districts may look more compact, they divide Corpus Christi up now into 3 different areas. And 127, it reaches around like a little snake to bite off a little Republican area, a really Democrat area right there. And what happens in Texas is, for instance, the TCEQ is not allowed to control cumulative impacts of pollution, just individual places. So when they built that ethane cracker plant, the TCEQ told Exxon that no, that's too much air pollution. Build 2 plants right next to each other and okay them each for half that amount, and we can do it. That was just dumb, and everybody saw through it. But now they're impacted with all this pollution, and they're communities of color, of minorities. And then you split them off into pieces, they can't even go to the EPA through their representative. This is wrong. This is wrong.
Thank you for your testimony. Thanks for being here. Oh, Senator Hinojosa, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And one of the comments I made initially when we started this hearing, that I was very concerned about Nueces County, the way it's being split, I think in 3 ways. And quite frankly, that's not being compact. And Nueces County, as you well know, besides we have the port, refineries, new interests coming in, we have a diesel plant being constructed that will be used as a template for the rest of the Gulf Coast. So all of that is sudden completely change around, which I don't think is very good for the communities in Corpus Christi and in the Coastal Bend area when you have that type of division within the county itself and the neighborhoods. But thank you for your testimony.
And Sierra Club agrees with you there.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Welcome. Pull that microphone close. Introduce yourself and give us your testimony.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Emily Amps, and I'm the Director of Politics and Policy at the Texas AFL-CIO, the state's labor federation with over 250,000 affiliated members across the state, including in your districts. And I'm here to testify on their behalf and for myself. When this weekends, there will have been 4 legislative hearings to discuss disaster response and how we can prevent more innocent lives from being swept away in the floods. And when this weekends, there will have been 13 legislative hearings to discuss congressional redistricting, something no Texan asked for and will further divide already fragile communities. That's time that should have been spent addressing what Texans do need: protection from damaging storms, wages that are enough to put food on tables and roofs over heads, access to health care and health insurance so our neighbors don't have to choose between their well-being and bankruptcy, shielding workers from wage theft and writing laws that protect workers from heat death. But instead, we're here because state leaders would rather bow to the pressure of a president that cares more about his political future than the future of our state. Pressures that will result in silencing even more Texans, including many workers, adding to the many voices already muted by the current district lines. Communities that have already been severed and neighborhoods already divided by this current map, which could be used already as a study in gerrymandering. This map, though, SB4, this bill, doubles down on gerrymandering and says, hold my beer. For example, fast-growing suburban communities like mine in Buda, Texas, just south of Austin, currently in Congressional District 21, already sliced and diced and put into district with rural communities that we have little in common with. I thought it couldn't get worse. I was proven wrong. If this passes and is signed into law, my house will now be on the edge of Congressional District 27, a district that will go from Hays and Travis counties to the Gulf of Mexico and Matagorda County. On a good day with no traffic, and those of us in Austin know there is no good days with no traffic, that's about a 3 hour and 10 minute drive. Doesn't sound very compact to me. And please, someone explain to me why a fast-growing suburb of the 11th largest city in the United States has in common with Palacios, Texas. And of course, it's a rhetorical question because we all know the answer is very little. So I urge you, as you move forward, please remember that your actions during this special session will have a real impact on real people. And there are real issues that need to be addressed. And also remember that you do not have to pass a map. Please don't forget that.
And thanks for your testimony. Ms. Manil, welcome. Get close to that microphone and introduce yourself and go ahead.
Okay, my name is Susan McNeil, and I live in Pflugerville, District 17. I'm here representing myself. And you all have heard about the racial disparities and the legalities of this map. So I'm going to focus on what is actually transpiring with this map. It is an authoritarian attack on our democracy. Our democracy is already fractured, with Congress shirking their responsibilities and not representing the American people and ceding their power to the Oval Office. If you approve this map, it will be one more nail in the coffin of democracy. The felon in the White House states that he deserves 5 more seats because he won Texas, the largest majority percentage ever in the history of the United States. That is a lie. So he does not deserve the 5 seats. I, for one, will never, ever bow to tyranny. Like the old adage says, give me liberty or give me death. And you all can take that to the bank. I implore you, do not destroy our freedoms and democracy. And if you're scared of the felon, quit, leave, vamoose. We do not want or need scared politicians. And lastly, do not force the American people into an armed revolution, because I fear if you continue on the same path, this is where we are headed.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you. Mr. Morris, welcome. Pull that microphone close. Mr. Norris, introduce yourself and go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Robert Norris, representing myself and opposed to Senate Bill 4. I want my grandkids and all others to benefit from a responsive government that promotes the best interests of our citizens. I want them to benefit from public schools that help develop intelligent and kind students. President Trump wants this legislature to adopt a new congressional map that will allow him to continue favoring wealthy and powerful Republicans. These are the same people who want to privatize and undermine our public schools. My grandkids, like me, have lived most of their lives in Travis County. The map you're considering will redraw our local districts, with the result that our excellent congressmen, Lloyd Doggett and Greg Casar, are less likely to be elected in the future. These congressmen are working to promote democracy and fairness and oppose cuts to our legacy safety net programs like Medicaid and food stamps. Also, communities of color in other parts of Texas will lose vital representation if this map is adopted. As you've heard, Texas has a shameful history of disenfranchising blacks and Hispanics, which Senate Bill 4 will continue. The map before you will have an adverse impact on many of the state's grandkids and everyday citizens, so I definitely oppose it. And I applaud the House Democrats who are doing the heavy lifting to thwart the Trump and Abbott power grab by going to other states. I'm finished.
Thanks for your testimony. Senators, any questions for any of our witnesses on this panel? Well, thank you. You're excused. Thanks for your testimony. Call Anthony Gutierrez, Dr. Susana Carranza, David Wheeler, Nick Molberg. Looking for Anthony Gutierrez, Dr. Susana Carranza, David Wheeler, Nick Molberg. call Carrie King. Is Carrie here wishing to testify? Carrie King. Just give me. Francesca Fraga Leahy. Is Francesca here wishing to testify? Wow, come on down. Welcome. Welcome to each of you. When you get situated, we'll start over here. Francesca, pull the microphone close, introduce yourself, and give us your testimony. Welcome.
Good morning, Chairman King and Vice Chair Creighton and committee members. My name is Francesca Fraga Leahy, and I'm representing myself in opposition to SB 4. Alongside the vast majority of Texans whom y'all have heard from, and from those whom you have not, I'm vehemently opposed to SB 4 because the proposed map and this process are wrong from a moral, logical, and a Texan perspective. I'm proud to be here today as a lifelong Texan because 3 generations ago, my Mexican and Italian great-grandparents immigrated to America. 2 generations ago, my grandparents raised their families on the west side of San Antonio and in South Waco, and my parents, small business owners, Chicano activists, and lifelong community advocates, raised me and my siblings in Waco, Texas. I went to college in Austin, taught middle school in the Rio Grande Valley, and now own a home with my husband and 3 kids in South Central Austin in current Congressional District 37. I know Texas values. And as a former social studies teacher, I know that the Texas Constitution states all political power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their benefit. This outrageous mid-decade redistricting move by the governor and the current DOJ, enforced by the unpopular authoritarian in the White House to increase Republican representation in the U.S. House by taking existing districts away from communities of color, including my friends and neighbors in the current District 35 in East Austin, just a few miles away from where I live, is shameful. Sin vergüenza, as my abuelita used to say. This process has laid bare the pitiful reality that today's statewide electeds, politicians, part of a Republican Party that has held power in this state for most of my life, are behaving as if our community's voices and votes are for sale to out-of-state donors and to corrupt interests. That my family's tax dollars are being wastefully mismanaged by incompetent state leadership that has chosen to kneel to a wannabe king. It's not a game, is it? I urge you to stop this undemocratic, ridiculous political maneuver. Do not pass SB 4.
And thank you for your testimony. Pull the microphone close. Welcome. Introduce yourself and go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Carrie King, and I am testifying on behalf of myself and against this proposed redistricting. Fair and equal representation, the crown jewel of our democracy, that is what we are here to protect. However, as long as the ability to get away with racial gerrymandering remains, we will stay stuck in a loop, repeating a sad and shameful cycle of domination and oppression. Our country's racist legacy started with the colonization and near obliteration of Native peoples. Then came the saga of slavery, answered by the Civil War and Jim Crow. The Civil Rights Movement exposed the pervasive racism that continues to plague our society to this day, but people of color finally secured the Voting Rights Act. Unfortunately, over the past 60 years, to the day yesterday, the Voting Rights Act has been whittled down slowly but surely, and now today we see how brazen and out in the open white supremacy has become, with this "Let's Go Brandon" stickers on trucks and neo-Nazis marching in New Hampshire, not to mention ICE out there racially profiling and spreading doom and fear across our nation. We have to show up with the moral fiber it takes to meet this moment. We have to choose love and kindness. Members, it's up to you to steer our great experiment in representative democracy back towards equity and justice. Reject this DC-ordered redistricting plan and right our sinking ship. Turn away from fear of losing personal power. Look deeply into and open your hearts to the space where courage defeats intimidation. Our democracy is counting on all of you to choose integrity over corruption. Texas House Democrat representatives who've broken quorum, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for honoring the nonviolent legacy of civil rights warriors who've come before you, the likes of Jordan, King, and Lewis, who are smiling down upon you. Thank you for the good trouble. I'm here to add my voice to the powerful message we heard from Senator Miles here today, and to demonstrate to my two sons who are present in this room that when we see injustice, we must stand up and fight back. When we do, love wins. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. Welcome. Pull that microphone over, if you will, and introduce yourself and give us your testimony.
Thank you. My name is David Wheeler. I'm representing myself. I'm speaking today in opposition of SB 4. This is a bill that only serves to undercut our democracy and ratchet up the tensions between parties. It is a power grab, as has been acknowledged. Last week, more than 93% of the more than 500 people who testified or dropped cards concerning HB 4 stated that they oppose this action. From Senator Miles's note today, the percentage is 98% against today in testimony. This is a call to try to manipulate the congressional map for party gain, not for the good of the people or for the state. The brave House members who broke quorum have offered you an opportunity to take a step back and reconsider this rash action. Have the courage, integrity, and will to vote no and keep this awful bill, with respect, from leaving your committee. Voting yes will only serve to undermine faith in our government and faith in you. If you will not hear my words, I can only ask that you heed this warning from George Washington in his farewell address. However political parties may now and then answer popular ends, they are likely in the course of time and things to become potent engines by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of the people and to usurp for themselves the reins of the government, destroying afterwards the very engines which have lifted them to unjust dominion. The time that Washington warned us against is now. You have the power to step back from this precipice. Senators, please heed this warning from our first president. Serve democracy over party. Serve state over party, our state. This bill undercuts our great experiment. Vote against SB 4. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. for your testimony. Dr. Carranza, welcome. You know how to do this. Get that microphone close, introduce yourself, and go ahead.
I am Dr. Susana Carranza, representing myself, and I oppose this horrible bill and this entire rush process. The chair, Mr. King, has claimed this was a wonderful process, citing the early MATLAS hearings. Well, being forced to mark neutral when so many of us said hell no does not sound like a fair process to me. Texas do not want this rush process or this map. Yet, you filed the same exact map that will illegally break communities of color, of interest, and gerrymander cities, and receive overwhelming rejection last Friday at the House hearings. The chair also mentioned the horrors of the previous administration as a motivation for the new districts. You mean like ICE? Pulling people out of cars because they look brown? Well, that was not the previous administration. This is happening right now. I'm a naturalized citizen who has called the U.S. home for more than half my life. I was born in Brazil during peak dictatorship when people were being disappeared. Kind of sounds similar. There's a movie, I'm Still Here, and you might learn something from it. As a little kid, I went to pro-democracy rallies with my older siblings. I was lucky to see the transition out of dictatorship. Right now, you all, with this map, are handing down on a silver platter our democracy to Trump. It's not too late. I support House members who are breaking quorum to defend Texans. And if you really want to learn from history, you're going to withdraw this map right now and switch the focus to flood, because if you say, well, maybe if they come back, we'll work on things, well, work on floods, all right? Do the right thing.
Thanks
You'll have time.
Thanks, Dr. Carranza, for your testimony. Senator King, Chairman King, you're recognized.
Oh, thank you, Doctor, and thanks for being here today. Just wanted to make sure of something. You said you were required to vote or to mark neutral when you registered?
on the mapless hearings, like last
But
week.
today, you were able to register
yes.
opposition. Okay, just want to make sure the registration process was working right.
Yes, it is. Can I continue? I'm saying that you're using the previous hearings to say this was open and fair, but people could not officially say they opposed before while they clearly opposed during the Senate hearings, where their words clearly oppose. So, and today, I understand, I marked against. I have been here a time or many, as some of you have known. But having to mark neutral last week felt really, really horrible because I was not neutral at all.
Just so everybody understands how that works, anytime there's not a, someone mentioned the flood hearings. In the flood hearings, if you registered to testify, you had to register neutral because there's no bill before the committee under consideration. So that's why you would mark neutral. The same thing was true in the redistricting hearings before there was a map. That's exactly why we're having public testimony today, is because we have a map and we wanted people to be able to register that they're for it, neutral on it, or against it. So that's why that occurred earlier. But now that there is a map, a bill, that anyone who registers to testify can register their opposition to it. So just that's kind of how that works for the general public's knowledge. Now, I know you know that, Doctor.
I understand the process, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, is there any other questions for our witnesses on this panel? Thank you for being here. You're excused. And for the benefit of those listening who may not be familiar with the process, anyone who's watched knows that every witness was allowed and encouraged to fully express their opinion for or against anything. And no one has even suggested that a registration of neutral on the topic was a support or anything like that for the redistricting process. And again, folks familiar with the process know, but we sure wouldn't want someone listening in who doesn't know how that system works to be misled.